Hello, I'm just going to go in and fix so we can be public and everybody will be able to enjoy the podcast. Thank you. It's Friday once again, and I'm excited to be able to connect with you guys. I mean, like literally, I look forward to our Fridays. Um, I find our Fridays to be exciting time for us to talk about a few things that be in my heart, and I like sharing things that are in my heart with you guys. So welcome to our Friday conversations that heal with Mrs. LJT. So today we are going to talk about love. Let's talk about love. What is love? I remember the song that used to play back in was it the 90s? Yeah, I think it was the 90s. It said, "What is love? Baby, don't hate me. Don't hate me no more." You old people, some of you old people will be able to remember it. But anyway, on a serious note, I wanted us to talk about love. First Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5 says, love, it says it doesn't, but it stands for love. It says love does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. That means it is not selfish. It is not easily angered. And the part that I really want us to focus in is that love does not keep a record of wrongs. It says it keeps no record of wrongs. So I want us to talk. What does it mean to not keep a record of wrongs? So, what does it mean to keep a record? When you keep a record, you document everything that happens. It's like you will go, okay, today on this day at this time, this is what I did. At this day, on this day, at this time, this is what I did. And that is what it means to keep record. And the Bible tells us that love does not keep records of wrongs. And so it is quite, I decided to talk about this today because today it is September 9/11, and we all know what happened back, I think, how many years ago when 9/11 happened. And so basically, for those of you, I doubt that there's anybody that doesn't know anything about 9/11 in this world, but maybe for the younger generations that don't live in the US, you might not know about 9/11. But when 9/11 happened, I was in Botswana. And and I remember my sister screaming, "Oh my goodness!" And I came running, and we stood in front of the TV and watched CNN. And CNN was showing, they kept replaying the scene where the planes had just crashed through the Twin Towers in New York. And just to see people falling down and the screams and the fire workers trying to extinguish the fire. And then within a few minutes, they were showing a plane crashing in Washington, D.C. And it was just like unbelievable. Like, who would want to do that? And it was a painful thing, whether you are American or you are not American, if you have love in your heart, to see people going through that, regardless of whether you agree with American foreign policies or you don't agree with American policies or whatever your perspective is, to see people go through that, it was a very painful thing. Hey, Kaz, Felicia, hey, Boaz. But it was a very painful thing to see that. Now, since then, there is a slogan that has been developed by American people that says, hashtag never forget. And that's the slogan that I want to address. Because I feel like if love is keeping a record of wrongs, it is because of that that we are where we are today in the world. You do this to me, I'm going to remember it, and I'm going to make sure that I do it back to you. And that's where we are right now, in the situation in our world. So America did go to war. The first war after that was with Iraq, which was later found out to be a mistake. The second war was with Afghanistan, trying to find Osama bin Laden. It's been going on forever, and Osama bin Laden was later on killed. But one of the things that really gets to me with that slogan of hashtag never forget is the fact that there is stigmatization, because this evil that happened was done by people that identified themselves as Muslims, and also it was done by people of Arabic origin. We are now at a point where in America, because we have decided that we are going to keep a record of wrongs with our hashtag never forget, we are where now Muslims are being stigmatized and are being victimized, regardless of whether they agree with what happened in 9/11 or they don't agree with what happened in 9/11. It doesn't matter. They are being stigmatized and they're being persecuted. And one other thing also that gets to me with this kind of behavior is the fact that there is a choice on what us as Americans we choose never to forget and what we choose to forget. And I struggle with the fact that majority we identify ourselves as Christians. And that is why today I am reminding us that this is what God says. God says love keeps no record of wrongs. And one other thing, because you may say, yes, love keeps no record of wrongs, but I can keep a record of wrong because I don't have to love the people that did this to us. And I want to challenge you. If this message, I'm directing it to you, if you are watching and you deem yourself to be a Christian, this message is for you. And if every year on 9/11, you share a post about 9/11 and you put in there hashtag never forget, I just want you to understand that you are keeping a record of wrong and you are helping this world to perpetuate hate. Yes, I know that in First Corinthians chapter 11, verse 24, Paul said, quoting directly from what Jesus said, he said, um, this do in remembrance of me. When he was telling the disciples to always take bread and to take bread and also to drink the blood as a sign, the wine as a sign of his blood. He said, do this in remembrance of me. And so, yes, we have to keep things in remembrance. There is nothing wrong with keeping things in remembrance. And Jesus said that in Luke. So he said that in Luke, let me go up here. In Luke 22:19, the Bible says, and he took bread, gave thanks, and broke it, and gave it to them, saying, this is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance. And so the church does that. According to 1 Corinthians 11:25, we do that because the first church did that as well, to be in remembrance of the sacrifice that Christ did for us. So there are things that we are called not to forget. And those things that we are called not to forget are acts of love, not records of wrong. There is a difference. Love remembers acts of love. Christ died on the cross as an act of love for us to reconcile us to his Father. That's why he wants us to remember. He don't want us to remember the fact that he suffered pain and he was separated from his Father. No. The reason why we take Holy Communion and we remember his death, burial, and resurrection is because we have to remember that he reconnected humanity. He reconciled humanity back to his Father. It was an act of love. So as we say hashtag never forget with 9/11, why exactly are we doing that? To remember the people that we love? Yes, and I see Felicia says here, she said, what a beautiful perspective, and I will share this with everybody so you can all see it. She says, what a beautiful perspective. On 9/11, I make sure to think of the dead and to pray for those left behind. I'm trying to not keep a record of wrongs, but to make sure the lost are remembered. And I totally share that perspective. So if we are remembering, to remember the ones that are lost, and if we make sure that as we remember, it does not stir in us the spirit of resentment for those that did that. Because one other thing that the Bible tells us to do, the Bible tells us in Romans chapter 12, verse 14, it tells us to bless those that persecute us. It says, bless and do not curse. It says, bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. So if your remembrance, and Matthew 5:44 says, but I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. So as we are remembering, are we remembering to keep memory of the ones that were lost? Or are we remembering because we want to hold close to us that hate for the ones that persecuted us? Every time we say negative things about Muslims because we deem them to be our enemies because of what happened in 9/11, are we following what Christ told us to do? Are we being loving if we see them as our enemies? The Bible says, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. But are we turning around and persecuting? Because there is a tendency for Christians to persecute. So, but the Bible tells us that we have to love our enemies and we have to pray for those who persecute us and not to curse them, because God says, vengeance is mine. One other thing that has really been disturbing to me when it comes to love is the idea that it is okay for a Christian to pick up a gun and just kill somebody. I have heard people talk about when they're talking about rioting and stuff, and I was really disturbed watching Donald Trump Jr., the son of our president, talking about the, hey Benita, talking about the young man that killed people in Kenosha. And he said he is just a kid, and as a kid, you make mistakes. And I have seen some people talking about, yes, people have to protect property. And it is really painful to me because some of the people that hold those ideas are people that call themselves Christians. Love will not rejoice in the death of anybody, be it a sinner or a non-sinner. Especially to me, it's very painful to watch love rejoice over the death of a sinner. Because the Bible says the angels rejoice when a soul is saved. What's the opposite of rejoicing? Is sorrow. So what does that mean? How do the angels feel when a soul is lost without being saved? When somebody dies without being saved? Can you just imagine? If they rejoice when a soul is saved, what do they do when a soul is lost forever and you know there's no hope for that soul anymore? And I just want to challenge us to really practice true love. We need to practice true love. And true love, it is something that is really, really challenging to America. That is a good question, Boalia. And I will show it here so people can see that question. And I am going to share a video, and Oh no, this is not it. I'm going to share, I will share a video shortly. It's loading. Hold on. I'm going to pause it so that I can put it over here and I can be able to share this video. And this video here, it's a video that I will let you watch it. And this is something that is very painful. This is created in memory of all the, that's a 12-year-old, a 12-year-old little boy lost to police brutality. He was in the park holding a toy gun, and a police officer got out of the car, and within 3 seconds, the boy is laying down dead. 12 years old in the park. And I look at this and I have to remind myself, I have to ask myself, what is love? And this, the hypocrisy of America is that these people here that you see here that were not armed but were lost, they died, they did not have um, weapons on them, but they died. And when this video was taken, this memorial was still being made. So it's not all the people that are being shown. As you can see that there are men kneeling over there, they're still making this. And this is the hypocrisy of America. This here, you will be told, get over it. Or they were criminals. Or they did not comply. When evil is perpetuated by America, we don't do hashtag never forget. We pick and we choose what record of wrongs we want to keep for this country. We hashtag never forget Pearl Harbor. We hashtag we never forget 9/11. Is it because white people also died in the midst of that evil that was being done? Or why do we choose to do it? Or is it because evil was done by somebody else other than an American? Why do we choose to tell African Americans to get over it when they cry about slavery, all the raping that was done during slavery, all the killing that was done just because you did not obey your master? Why do we tell them to forget about, to get over it when they talk about the lynchings, the pain that they have experienced? We're talking about over 1 million people, if not more than that. It's probably even more than that because some of the records are not kept right. Like how many people died in the Tulsa attack? Some records will tell you 150, some records will tell you 300. Nobody will ever tell you the truth about how many people were killed. But for 2,000 people, we hashtag never forget. And we label Muslims as killers. And we persecute them. And we sit in the pews on Sundays and we take Holy Communion and we act all holy and everything. But we agree with this evil. We agree with this evil. We let this evil go on and on and on and on and on. And yet we are keeping a tab of all the wrongs that everybody else is doing to us. We are keeping a tab of that. We are keeping a tab of that. We are going out. We are taking them. We are killing Muammar Gaddafi. We are killing Saddam Hussein. We are doing this. We are killing Osama bin Laden. We're keeping a tab. Do we really think that God is pleased with this? Because if we think that God is pleased with this, we are only fooling ourselves. If we think that God is pleased with a police officer gunning down a 12-year-old and getting away with it, that is not God. Unless if you all serve a different God from the God that I serve, because the God that I serve does not agree with that. But I also want to say to those that are having these atrocities done to them, first of all, I want to face the African Americans. And I want to say to them, the love of God lives in you. I know for sure that you are not cowards. I know for sure that you could all uprise and say enough is enough, but you are not doing that. So the love of God lives in you all, and I have tremendous respect for you all. And I also want to say to all other people that are facing this persecution that the Lord says, vengeance is mine. He will take care of it. But at the same time, God tells us that we have to seek justice. And we have to speak up for the ones that cannot speak up for themselves. And all the things that are going on. And if you are out there and you call yourself a Christian and you are okay and making excuses, or he should have complied, or he should have done this. And this is another thing also that gets to me about people that actually talk about he should have complied, he should have done this, he should have done this. That the people that will also tell you that police officers have to go back to their families, like they have to go back to their wives, they have to go back to their children. And I totally agree with that. They have to. It's a dangerous job to be a police officer in the United States of America. And I'm saying in the United States of America because I have been blessed to live in at least 4 countries and experience different interactions with the law enforcement and with the citizens of those countries. America has a gun problem. And that is the root cause of the deaths that we are seeing. Because why are the police officers feel that I have to shoot first so that I can go home to my wife, to my children, to my family? Is because in their minds, the people they're facing are dangerous because the people are facing might have a gun. And that's why I'm saying America has a gun problem. Where does this gun problem come from? And I'm going to ask you questions. Why does America founded on the foundation of Christianity? Why does it have a gun problem? Because America has a lack of faith problem. America have turned guns into its god. Guns are supposed to protect America. And you know, it's funny because Jesus told Peter, when Peter cut off the ear of one of the soldiers that were arresting him, and Jesus picked up that ear and put it back, and he told Peter, he said, those that fight, those that live by the sword shall perish by the sword. So basically he was telling Peter that my faith of survival is not on the sword. Jesus' faith of survival was on the power of God. He knew that the spirit of his Father will resurrect him and will give him back life. He did not trust on the sword, but America trusts on its gun. The Second Amendment is nothing but perpetuation of lack of faith. If you have to sleep with a gun by your bedside, it's nothing but perpetuation of lack of faith. The reason why America is founded on Christian values, but it has a problem of guns, such that its law enforcement is forever scared. Every shadow that moves of a black man is a black man with an illegal gun for them. And they have to neutralize that potential. They have to neutralize that potential risk before it gets to them. It's because of guns that we have this problem. And you know what's sad? Christians love the Second Amendment. They love it. And there's some right now watching me and thinking she is wrong for even talking about our guns. That's our Second Amendment. That's what our forefathers in their omni-wisdom put together for us. I'm sorry, America. We are where we are because guns have become the god of America. You all have elevated guns to a place that should never have been the place of guns. America is a dangerous place today because every Jack and Jill have access to guns. The police officers, yes, there are some that would have killed anyway, but not at the rate that we are seeing right now. I was thinking to myself, there have only been, in my entire life when I was in Botswana, I had never actually heard of police officers killing a person with a gun. Never. The first time I heard of the Botswana police officers killing a person with a gun was, I would like to say, about 8 years ago. And now I know of another person that was killed, I think last year. In my entire life, and I am 46 years old. in my entire life of living in Botswana, I've only known of 2 people that were killed by police officers with a gun. 2, 46 years old. Why? South Africa. South Africa is considered, Johannesburg is considered to be the most dangerous city in the in the one of the most dangerous cities in the world. But you hardly hear of police officers killing people. Hardly. You can hear of criminals killing people, but you hardly hear of police officers killing people. What is wrong? What is fundamentally wrong with the American structure that needs to be addressed? And why are Americans okay with a flawed system like this? Why are we choosing to hold on to the guns? Why are we choosing not to hold our law enforcement responsible? Where is love? Why are we okay with this? Why are we okay with this? Why do we view these people as less of deserving of life? Why is this okay, America? Yet, every year, hashtag don't forget 9/11. Every year. The 2000 and plus people that died in 9/11. What is so super special that every year we have to hashtag not forget them? But every day we are losing people and we are okay with it. Sandy Hook, innocent children in school, about 21 children died. We don't hashtag every, I don't even know the exact date that Sandy Hook happened. We don't hashtag don't forget Sandy Hook. We claim that we don't want to forget 9/11 so that 9/11 don't repeat. Does that mean that because we don't hashtag remember Sandy Hook, that we are okay with Sandy Hook happening again? America, we need to stop the hypocrisy. The only reason every year nobody forgets 9/11 in the US is because we want to perpetuate hate towards the people that look like the ones that carried out 9/11. And because we don't want to perpetuate hate towards the people that look like the killer of the children in Sandy Hook, guess what we don't do? We do not hashtag don't forget Sandy Hook. Yes, that is very true, Walia. Walia says we cannot hashtag not forget Sandy Hook, because if we don't forget Sandy Hook, then it means that we have to address the gun issue. And we don't want to address the gun issue. We don't want to, because we have the right to protect ourselves, which in turn gives us the right to kill. Even though God said, thou shalt not kill. But no, We have the right to kill as long as it's done by a good American, or as long as it's done by an American that has mental issues. And you know, there are certain Americans that can have mental issues, and certain Americans that are not allowed to have mental issues. When America says the killer had mental issues, I know that killer is white. When America says the killer was a thug, I know that killer is black. When America says we just had a terrorist attack and 4 people have died, I know that the killer was of an Arabic descent. Isn't it sad? But you know, the sad thing is if you do these things and you call yourself a Christian, you are just fooling yourself. Because if I can see through it, what more about your God? If I can ask you as a Christian, why do you hashtag never forget 9/11, but you don't hashtag never forget Sandy Hook? If I, being a mere man, what more about God? What more about God? If you are okay with George Zimmerman killing a kid that was killing tea and candy, and you scream about George Floyd pointing a gun at a pregnant woman, didn't kill her, pointed a gun at her, and you say he deserved to die. But George Zimmerman deserves to be out and walking around and enjoying life, and you would even contribute for his GoFundMe. Yet he killed an innocent little boy that had tea and Skittles in his hands. What makes you okay with that? And I'm not saying George Floyd was okay to point a gun at anybody, whether pregnant or not pregnant. I'm not saying he was okay to do that. But bottom line is, he did not kill her. He didn't. But Judge Zimmerman, he killed the young man. Dead. It's hypocrisy. That's what it is. It is hypocrisy. I've seen posts about the young man, the little kid that was killed by a black neighbor. I have seen that. I've seen people that will never post anything about anybody killing anybody post about that because they wanted to show that black people are evil and black people are killing white kids, and so black people deserve to die. It's justified. And yet, this week, I have not seen the same people that were sharing those posts. I have not seen them say anything about the little boy that was shot by police officers over 21 times, the little autism boy with autism. Have not heard about that. He's white, he's not black. I don't expect you all, some of you all, to post anything about black people dying because you don't care. But if you posted about that little boy who was killed by a black neighbor, and yes, that black neighbor was home, And yes, he's in jail. And yes, he will pay. But this week you did not post anything about a little boy, white boy, getting shot 21 times because he ran away and he has autism. And because that was done by a police officer, you are okay with it. This country can do better and should do better. But it is the hypocrisy of the American people that is perpetuating this. This nation is a nation full of hypocrisy, and we hide behind the finger of politics. Wrong is wrong, right is right. It doesn't matter on your political view. And the word of God is true regardless of what political views you hold. Thou shalt not matter. Whether you are white, you should not matter. Whether you are black, you should not matter. Whether you are Asian, you should not matter. Whether you are Arabic, you should not matter. That's what God says. Stop killing others, period. And we cannot categorize types of killers so that we can find in our heart not to keep the wrong of the killer because we have made it sound justifiable. Because the minute you said, or they had mental disorder, then you are justifying it. And in that way, you are finding a way to deal with it without hashtag never forget. But the minute you call somebody a thug, a killer, a thug, or another one a terrorist, then you are creating a way for you to hashtag it and say never forget. Because you are associating it with hate. But yet, when it happens to the other side, you do not associate. You want to find a reasonable excuse so that you can not keep it as a record of wrong. And it is sad. It is very, very sad that we can we can be a nation that operates like this, and yet we are mad about Bibles not being allowed in school or prayers not being allowed in school. What will it even benefit us when the people that pray in church are the ones that are perpetuating this evil that is happening in this nation? I mean, in my timeline, the people that I see really pushing the agenda of this, we only get troubled when crime is done by a black person towards a white person, like that young man that was killed, and then they are as quiet as church mouse when black people are being killed that were not armed or anything, are the people that I know as to be Christians, people that I have met and get to know through church, are the ones that are perpetuating this. And they are the ones that will talk about God has been taken out of church, out of school. What difference does it make, honestly, America? Even if we let the kids in school to read the Bible and to pray, if the people that pray in church go to Bible class every Wednesday, go to church every Sunday, are the ones excusing the actions of Zimmerman? We might as well let people not allow their kids to pray in school. If you go to church and you cannot do right, because it's not just about having access to the Bible and reading it, it's not just about praying with no connection to God, because God hates sin. And if our hearts are full of sin, where we are rejoicing when other people are going through pain, that's a sinful heart. And we expect God to be in the midst of that. That's not God. I tell you, you can go to church all you want. You can pray all you want. But if you hashtag never forget 9/11 and you say Sandy Hook was a hoax, if you rejoice over the death of Trayvon Martin and you are mad over the death of the little kid that was killed by his neighbor, but you rejoice about the death of another child, if you are okay with the death of Tamar Rice, but you are mad over the death of Botham Jim because he was a member of the church, I'm sorry to let you know, you are a hypocrite. All those lives were created by God. And all those lives matter to God. You can raise your voice about abortion all you like. But if with the same voice that you condemn abortion with, you raise your voice to disparage kids that are in the system, kids that are in need, if with that same voice you praise people that are persecuting children of illegal immigrants, you are a hypocrite. And it is sad. It is sad that as Christians, it is difficult for us to see this. It is sad that we have to love guns so much that in order for us to protect our guns, we have to let evil happen. It is very, very sad. And it is also sad that we have to love our way of our foundation of our forefathers in such a way that even though Christ himself told Peter, because your gun to you is a sword to Peter. You know that. If Peter was living now, instead of a sword, he will have a gun. And Christ told Peter, he said, those that live by the sword will die by the sword. So in other words, Christ told Peter to put that sword away. He actually did tell him, not in other words. He told him, he said, put away your sword. But you all do not want to put away your swords. Because guess what? Your forefathers said it's okay for you to carry a gun. And obviously, my Christian brother, my Christian sister, obviously, you place your forefather above Christ. Because Christ told Peter to put away the sword. Your forefathers told you it is okay to have the sword. And you are placing your forefathers above Christ. That's sad. That is very sad. And, we are almost at time. And today I wanted us to talk about love. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul.
And love yourself and love you all your family.
Yes. Can we do that? Can we love the Lord our God with all our heart, with all our soul, and with all our minds, such that we stop putting our forefathers above Christ? If we can address our love for guns and our fear of letting go of the gun, I mean, we seem to be so scared of death. Yet Peter said, I would rather, he said, if it was for me, Paul, he said, if it was for me, I would die so that I can go and be with the Lord. But for your sake, I will stay. But the reason why we are so holding on to our guns is because we are afraid that somebody with a gun, and this is something that has been said to me, or somebody might break into your house with a gun and you will not be able to protect yourself.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. If you let him in your house, the whole family will die. Yeah.
And that is true. But you know what? At the end of the day, it is what it is. If we are not willing to all of us say, we're going to let go and let God, the situation will never be better. And we need to stop keeping a record of wrong. And also, we need to, even further beyond that, we need to stop deciding who does not deserve forgiveness and who deserves that we wink at the wrongs that they do. And with that, going forward, you are never going to see hashtag never forget from me. Not because I don't feel for the lives that we lost in 9/11, not because I don't grieve for them, but because I grieve for them as much as I grieve for these people here. That nobody ever texts and says never forget.
Mommy.
I also grieve for Sandy Hook.
Class.
Okay. I also grieve for Sandy Hook. And I also grieve for the people that were killed in many different churches by gunmen. I grieve for people that were killed in the movie theater in Colorado. I grieve
Yeah.
for the people that were killed in
Let
church
me
in
tell
Texas,
something.
and for
No,
all
no
the other
gunman
people.
has to be at church.
Yes, that's true, Ty. And for all the other people that have been killed around the world, I grieve for them. But I grieve for the people that have been lynched. I grieve for the slaves that were thrown overboard on ships as they were crossing the Atlantic. I grieve for all those. And so I choose not to hashtag anybody, because how do I pick and choose who I hashtag? How do I pick and choose? We don't hashtag the Holocaust every year. And maybe it's because it was an event in history. How do I pick and choose who I'm going to hashtag? All of them, they grieve my spirit, but I give it over to the Lord. And so, my friends, my fellow Americans, I will not be joining you every year on 9/11 to hashtag, because I choose not to keep a record of wrongs. If you choose to keep it, you can go ahead and keep it. But you have to ask yourself in your heart, why don't you know the anniversary of Sandy Hook? Was that not painful to you? Was it less painful? God bless. I have to drop because I have a coding class coming up with my boys. I love you all. Stay blessed, and we will talk again on next week, Friday. Conversations That Heal with Mrs. LJT. Bye bye.